Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Name One Player podcast. My name is Nicole. I am your host. And before we hop into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you to every single person who is listening to my voice right now. I am so happy and so appreciative that you are here. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. I am so glad that you listened to whatever episode that you've listened to in the past and you thought, I'm going to come back and I'm going to listen to that show again. I'm so full of gratitude for you. Thank you. And welcome back. And anybody who is new here, if this is your first time listening to the Name One Player podcast, I want to give a huge welcome to you and just let you know that I am so happy that you found the podcast. I don't know how you found the podcast. Maybe you're friends with one of the incredible women who have been on the show. Maybe it floated across your social media pages. I don't know. I do not know, but I am so happy that you are here. The Name One Player podcast is a place for women to talk about the sports that they love without ever being asked to name one player, because that's annoying. It is annoying, and I'm not going to ask you to do that. I promise. This is just going to be a place for you to just talk about the sports that you love. Before we get into this week's episode, I do want to address the fact that it has been 2 weeks now since I put out an episode, and I'm sorry. That's only happened once since I've committed to putting out weekly episodes, and I was in the hospital when that occurred. Obviously, everybody was very understanding, and of course, I'm so appreciative of that, and I let people know that I wasn't going to be posting an episode. This time, however, I need to apologize to everybody who does regularly listen to the Name One Player podcast, because I did not put out anything that I wasn't going to be putting out the episode on the usual day that I do, which is Thursdays. So I'm sorry. I am sorry. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I have been feeling very tired. I've been feeling a little bit burnt out. I just kind of had a rough last 2 weeks. If I'm being honest with you guys, which I always will do. I will always be honest. And I wasn't expecting to have these weeks be as, I guess, stressful is the word, as they were. And typically this podcast is a way for me to de-stress. I'm not gonna lie, like it is a lot of work, it is a lot of effort, but it's the type of work and effort that motivates me, that excites me. It's typically fun putting in the effort for the podcast. However, I was just so tired, stressed, burnt out, even a little bit sad the last 2 weeks, that it just felt like the podcast just got put on the back burner, and that's not where I want to be. That's not what I want to do. And full transparency, I didn't think that anybody would notice. That's part of why I didn't put out the episodes. I kind of got trapped in this thinking of being like, well, nobody is going to care. Nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to care. It's going to be fine. Whatever. Just like, don't worry about it. Which, I mean, was helpful in a way of letting myself kind of not panic about it, not stress about it too much. However, I realized that that's not true. Essentially, I just want to apologize, but also let you know that we are back. I'm not going to say that the break was needed, because again, I committed to weekly episodes, and the fact that I didn't follow through with that does disappoint me personally. But at the same time, that break really did allow for that creativity and that motivation to just, I guess, reset and replenish itself. So I am motivated. I am so excited for what's to come with the Name One Player podcast. However, we are currently in the present, and what I want to focus on today is our guest that we have. We have Rosie on today, and it's funny, I met Rosie at a party when I used to live in London, and met through a mutual friend. And when we met immediately, I was like, wow, this girl is so funny. She's so bubbly. She was so kind. I also went to this party knowing the person who invited me. That was it. I didn't know anybody else. And immediately Rosie just made me feel so welcome. But Rosie, I did notice, posted when the Wimbledon tennis tournament started. She posted that she was making something really cool called Rosie's Wrap Up. And Rosie mentioned that she's always loved sports, always dreamed of sports journalism, and now she was going to start doing a little bit of a wrap up of each day and all the matches that occurred that day. And when I saw that, I was like, I need to get her on the Name One Player podcast. We were able to figure out a time to have Rosie come on here and chat all about her love for Wimbledon. We recorded this episode shortly after the final, so like mid-July. It is now August. And again, it would have been really cool to get this episode out in time for Wimbledon just finishing up. It's a really great episode of Rosie recapping the tournament. However, Rosie and I get into so much more than that. And it's just really a fun episode where Rosie's love of sports just genuinely shines through. And I think you're all absolutely gonna love it. But yeah, again, thank you for your patience with me. I genuinely appreciate it. You won't be getting rid of me, I promise. And I'm back today with Rosie, and I'm excited for all of you to hear all about Rosie's love of tennis and all the other sports that we touch on today. All right, everyone, without further ado, please welcome Rosie. All right, everybody, we have Rosie here with us. Rosie, how are you doing?
Hi everyone! Yeah, I'm very well. How are you, Nicole?
I am doing really well as well. All right, Rosie, tell me and everybody who's listening a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Rosie. I'm from England. I've always loved sports, always played sports as well. I'm always the worst on the team, always fighting to get picked, but I still love them. And I think like we should put that message out. Like it doesn't matter if you're good or bad, just give it a go.
Love that.
And yeah, I went to my went to watch my first professional rugby match at Gloucester round the corner when I was like 10 for my friend's birthday, and ever since then, yeah, like tennis and the Olympics, all that being on the telly just kind of sucked me in. And then that's it really. I like watching sports more than anything else.
Love that. Okay, so rugby and tennis, you would say are your top two?
Yeah, probably. Well, I'd say actually like the Olympics is probably like above, but that only comes around. I love just watching all random things, you know what I mean, at the Olympics and supporting like anything Team GB. I'm on it. I watch every gold medal. I like, you know, here they usually like put out a little alert being like, oh, potential gold medal, and then I'm like straight on it.
Team GB, like you guys did pretty good for the summertime. I was impressed.
We smash it. We like always like top 4, top 5 on the medal table.
Yeah, no, it was good. And it was really cool to see the pride that you guys had for your country. Did you go to Paris by any chance?
No, I was actually planning on going, but then it was just, to be honest, it was so expensive. I didn't have that thing. I was going to do a spontaneous trip. I was like, oh, I just really want to go. But I'm saving up for the LA Olympics. It's my 30th birthday, just before the LA Olympics start. That's the goal.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
hopefully I'll see you there. That would be so cool. Okay, well, the reason this episode came up, we followed each other, I guess, since we met a couple of years ago, but you posted on your story that you were doing something for Wimbledon, that you love tennis, and you were just gonna wrap up each of the days at the end of the day, go over the matches that day, Rosie's wrap ups, and it was so, like, full disclaimer, I did not watch one Wimbledon match. I just watched all of your wrap ups at the end of the day, and you know what? I feel like I learned more from you than I would have just watching the matches. So tell me all about Rosie's wrap ups. Where did you get that idea? What motivated you to do that? All of that good stuff.
Thanks so much. Yeah. So, well, I've always loved tennis. It's my favourite sport, really. And I think like it comes from Wimbledon being such a huge thing here in the UK. You know, lots of people here as well, they'll probably just watch tennis for those 2 weeks and then only watch it again the next year, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. But I think like what happened to me is like it was always on in our house. My dad loves tennis, my mum as well. And then I've just started looking for more tennis after that. And then like the French Open in Paris was always on free to air TV as well. So I think then when streaming platforms came out, I could watch more of the Grand Slams, more of the little tournaments. And I've wanted to get into sports journalism, sports broadcasting for probably years, but I've never actually really had the confidence to do it. So I just thought this year I'm going to do it. And I just thought, what's a bit different? I've got a Wimbledon towel collection. So I thought I'm just going to wrap myself in a towel, and hopefully that intrigues people to watch the rest of the video. And so yeah, I just then did like little 2-minute catch-ups of what happened in the day.
First of all, I had no idea that these Wimbledon towels were a thing, and I really, like, I started to be like, when I noticed there were so many different colors, I was like, where the hell is Rosie getting all of these?
Yeah.
But then I saw you made a whole vlog of going with your dad, but then I saw you reach for a towel, and I was like, okay, I get it, I understand.
There's a thing. So basically they change colour every year. You get the classic championship one, which is always in the Wimbledon colours, always in purple, green, gold.
Okay.
And then, I mean, it used to be called the ladies' towel, but now each player gets one classic one of the different colour. So there's always 2 colourways. So I always buy, I've got the classic one, and so I always buy the different colourway because that changes every year.
Yeah.
So this year it's kind of turquoisey colour, but like that like alternative one, I don't know what the official name is actually, but the alternative one changes colour every year, and then you can only get them at the tournament. It's like all tennis tournaments have their own towel. Like when I was at the Australian Open last year, there was a whole towel saga at the Australian Open last year because someone nicked it in a hostel. And then I panicked because...
Oh my God, I'd be livid.
I panicked and almost cried because I thought, well, I can't get that towel
back.
It was like a month after the tournament. I thought, can never get that towel ever again. But luckily they were still online. I paid a fortune to have it shipped back to the UK, but that's a different story. And yeah, so they're always changed. And that's what happens at most tournaments or most Grand Slams. They have like a classic one and then they have like one that changes or something like that. But that always happens at Wimbledon. So I've got one for every Wimbledon that I've ever been to.
That's my next question for you. How many times have you gone to Wimbledon?
I reckon probably about 10. My first one was 2014. I went with my friend in 2014, and then I've missed. I've probably only missed a couple, and then we had the COVID year when it was cancelled. Yeah, I've probably been about 10 times now.
Okay, I love that. Well, yeah, honestly, I'm kicking myself that when I lived there, I didn't go. Like, why did I not go?
Well, we
I
could
have
have gone
no
together.
idea. I
We
know,
could have gone.
seriously, we totally should have.
It
You know
is-
what? Maybe I'm hoping that I can come back next summer. So maybe I'll plan it around July and then we'll go.
Yeah, we'll go. I will happily take anyone. I'll take anyone who says they want to go. It's the
Well,
best.
you know what? You posted a really helpful video because I also didn't realize, there's a lot of steps to it. Like you don't just show up and
Right.
go. You don't buy tickets online. You have to queue,
No.
all of that whole thing. So you had a video on that and that was really helpful. But I guess this might be a hard question to answer. It might be very multi-layered here. But do you have a favorite part about going to Wimbledon?
Favourite part? No, I don't think I do have a favourite part because you know what? It changed. Like they always are making upgrades to the grounds, all that kind of stuff. Like every time I go, like I kind of like, even though I've been so many times, like, I kind of like forget the layout and I forget kind of where I am, and then I find something new or there's something like I haven't done before, just soaking in all the atmosphere. They like bits that are just great, and then like last year we had to have our picnic on a bin under centre court because it was lashing it down with rain, but we'd never done that before, and we found a screen and like the tennis was on, so it was fine.
Yeah, there you go. You make it work always. Honestly, It sounds like a good time. It sounds like you're going with friends, family. Sounds like a blast regardless, and I feel like that's with everything, Life is what you make it. I feel like that's a Hannah Montana song. But you can go and you can have a great time in the rain and just be happy to be there, happy to be surrounded by the greatest tennis players in the world. Or you can be like, what the hell, it's raining. And I'm glad that you guys are making the best out of it. Because it sounds like you absolutely love it, which is so cool.
I do, yeah.
Talking about this year's tournament, we're not going to go through every single day, every single match, but tell me some of your highlights from this year's tournament.
This year's tournament was pretty crazy. It started a bit wild because you get like a top like seeds of players, so like the top like ranked players, and basically in round one, virtually like a quarter of them had gone. And like all of the German
Coco was gone, right?
Coco girl who just won the French Open, she was gone. And she had, I love a bit of fashion as well. She had a brilliant dress. It was a shame that that was gone.
Okay.
That was like, that's really hard because she just won the French Open, which was literally 4 weeks before. So it's the hardest thing to do is to win the French and then win Wimbledon because there's like no break, no gap.
Now, I'm just going to ask you here because again, I know very little about tennis. I've pretty well learned everything that I know about tennis from you. So, let's continue this learning train. But is that a pretty common thing in these Grand Slams of like it's just so unexpected? Like you have these amazing players that you're expecting to go a little bit further, but they just don't? Or is that a bit uncommon from this year?
I think, yeah, no, this was like the first tournament in God forever that like so many seeds fell down in the first few rounds.
Okay.
Like, so it was, yes, bit crazy to be honest, losing so many top
Okay.
seeds. Like it hasn't happened in, wait, I've probably got it written down somewhere. No, I haven't got it written down. But it's just, yeah, it's been like years, probably 10 plus years since so many have fallen down like so quickly. So,
Okay.
but like grass is like an anomaly because basically there aren't many tournaments. The grass court
Yeah.
season only lasts 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But Wimbledon is the one that everyone wants to win. It's the most historic, the most prestigious. You being a champion like really matters.
Okay. Well, you know what? When I was learning the amount that I could learn about Wimbledon and just trying to do a bit of research for this episode, you know what? It really reminded me of golf and the major tournaments in golf. You know, you have the four majors, you have the four Grand Slams, and then you have the Masters and you have
Yes.
Wimbledon. And I mean, they're just so big and historic, and obviously it's really amazing if you win anything, but like something about the Masters and something about Wimbledon, it just means more. It just means
Yeah,
more.
so
It's more
that's
special. I don't know.
Wimbledon and the Masters are like hand in hand with each other. They consider themselves to be, I mean, I don't know much about golf, but Wimbledon always reference like the Masters as like, that's the only tournament that compares. Do you know what I mean? Like they are both special.
Yeah.
That they are, and
Yeah.
they're elite. They're above the rest. So everything's done perfectly. All traditions, like, can be a bit frustrating, but all traditions, all kind of etiquette, everything is upheld at Wimbledon, and it's the same at the Masters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was really surprised at the whole everybody needs to wear all white rule. I had never realized that that was a thing. This is like so off topic, but what do you think about that? Do you like that tradition or are you kind of like, "Okay, what's the point of this?"
I like the tradition. I think it's quite difficult for like new tennis fans if you don't know what the person looks like say you don't know what the player like looks like,
Good point.
and say they're both blonde with a visor and the same
Yeah.
night dress on. That can be quite difficult, but I think it is one of the traditions that it would just be weird. Like when you see players in colour on the practice courts, it's just a bit odd. So I think like
Okay.
they relaxed the rules recently for women and undershorts. You're allowed to wear different colour undershorts. That was in the last
Okay.
like few years. But other than that, there's no colour. And yeah, I think it would just be odd if it was different.
Yeah, just adds, I get that. Just adds to that tradition, that historic piece and it's like why change it? It's been like this for what? Wimbledon's been going on since like the 1800s, hasn't it been? 18
Yeah,
something?
so it's the oldest Grand Slam on the calendar. So yeah, it's been going on for years, yeah, since the 1800s. And yeah, well, tennis, like, all it used to always be white. Like, when back then everyone used to wear like that was it. So then Wimbledon just kept that tradition.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? I'm now gonna be locked in because I'm like, are we thinking that the US Open is gonna be as crazy as this year's Wimbledon was? Or, I mean, looking to at the men's and the women's winners, I know both of those were a little bit crazy. So get into anything else too that pops up from you from during the tournament, but then also heading into the finals. What were your thoughts on both the men's and the women's finals there?
So I think the thing about this Wimbledon is the fact that it was crazy in the first like week with all of these kind of like top players going out, but who actually ended up in the semi-finals and final wasn't actually that surprising. Like in the men's final, we had the
Mm-hmm.
world number one, Yannick Sinner, against Carlos Alcaraz, the world number two. And then we had Iga Swiatek, she's former world number one, and she's a 5-time Grand Slam champion. And she was against Amanda Anisimova, girl from the USA. So she was quite surprising. But
Okay.
you tend to get someone slightly more rogue that doesn't maybe not sneak through to the final, but tend to sneak through to the quarters and the semis. So she beat the world number one in the
Right.
semi-finals, Arina Sabalenka, which was definitely, yeah, that was a brilliant match. I think the women's semi-finals day is always pretty much my favourite. Like, you don't often get two good matches, but like one of the matches it usually has like three big players plus maybe one kind of wild card that usually just puts up a big fight and then sometimes creates a shock. So like Amanda Anisimova defeating Arina Sabalenka was a huge upset. Arena had been in the last two Grand Slam finals in Australia and the French Open. She'd lost in both of those, both to American players, to Madison Keys, then Coco Gauff. And so now, then losing to another American in the semi-final who hasn't had, like she's kind of on everyone's radar, but you'd never expect her to make it all the way to a final. So
Okay.
that was brilliant, that semi. And then, unfortunately, the women's final didn't quite live up. Like, we wanted to see Arina Sabalenka against Iga Swiatek. They used to be world number one, world number two. Like, we've never seen them in a Grand Slam final. So it was almost a shame, like, no offence, that Anisimova beat Sabalenka, because it did mean the final was 6-love, 6-love, which is,
I see.
it was
Okay.
under an hour. That hasn't happened since the 80s at any Grand Slam.
Now, did you have, oh, well, I guess, do you have a favorite tennis player? Like, did you have somebody that you wanted to win either in this matchup or just like throughout the entire tournament?
I don't necessarily have a favourite player, but there are some people that you just love watching. I do love watching Coco Gauff. I love watching Iga. It sometimes can be quite difficult because she does seem to race through her matches. Like, she just demolishes half of her opponents. And there's a
Yeah,
couple of
okay.
people that like pop up. Any British hopefuls, I've got to shout out like the British girls, Katie Bolter, Emma Raducanu. I love holding out hope. When Emma won the US Open, my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe it. All of my friends actually texted me about tennis. It was just a phenomenon here in the UK. It was crazy.
Love that.
Because you had to pay. It was on a streaming service. I can't remember what service it is that you have to watch the US Open on. And they had to put it on free-to-air television, the final. So someone quickly bought the broadcasting rights and aired the final on free-to-air TV. Because
That's
it was
good.
so in demand to watch that final. And the fact that she actually won was probably the greatest thing, probably the greatest sporting thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, no offense to Rory
Okay.
McIlroy, who's obviously just done something insane.
Yeah.
But Emma doing that, she was the first ever qualifier to win a Grand Slam at men or women, and it was just, that was amazing. So it's like I love watching her. She played Arina Sabalenka, the world number one at Wimbledon this year. She had big chances to beat her, and it was a brilliant match, but she just couldn't quite get there. But it's just really nice to see her back on form.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of the men, I love Carlos Alcaraz. He's like absolutely brilliant, but he's so unpredictable. And that's kind of like,
Okay.
it's kind of hard sometimes because you're like, oh, I know he's going to be fine. I know. And then you just have an off day and you're just like, okay. He's not like totally reliable, guarantee, but he is probably one of the best tennis players I've ever seen in my life. But like,
Yeah.
not every match. So it's a roller coaster watching him. But he's got loads of personality. He pulls out some crazy trick shots. The French Open final this year against him and the world number one, Yannick Sinner, was amazing. I mean, Yannick Sinner, he had like 3 championship points and Carlos won the match. So you can just never write him off, and that just proved it. It was
Yeah.
absolutely mad.
Well, you know what? Honestly, that's kind of why I love sports. Like, I love that unpredictable roller coaster. Maybe because the teams that I love, like, are just unpredictable. They're not, like, stably good. So maybe that's why I've learned to love it. But sometimes that's the fun of it. Like, when you have a player or a team or whatever that you just know is going to dominate and just win 100% of the time, like sometimes it's not as fun. Sometimes you need that adrenaline, that up and down, like you said, the roller coaster. Maybe it's just my ADHD talking, but like sometimes you need that to lock in, to really like be on the edge of your seat. If I already know that this is going to be an easy win, it's not as fun to me.
That's actually what I love about watching women's tennis, is that there's been so many different winners since Serena Williams retired, basically. And then we had Ash Barty, she was the world number one. She won 3 Grand Slams and then retired. She, retired like really early. It was a big shock. And now we've had so many different winners, and the women's contest is always so unpredictable. I think that's why I do love watching the women's contest probably more, because you just don't know
I was
what's going
gonna
to
say,
happen.
so it sounds like it's kind of better. The women are more
Yeah,
fun than the
only
men.
because it's like a shame sometimes when your favourites and stuff go out, but then it's like watching someone that you might not have never heard of, if you heard of but you've never watched, actually make like the semi-final, the final in terms of Amanda Anisimova this year at Wimbledon. It's just crazy. But I think for the casual fan, that's quite difficult, because say like if you obviously watched Wimbledon this year and saw Amanda Anisimova in the final, and then you wanted to like track her next year, you just don't know. She could easily go out in the first round next year.
I
So,
see. Okay.
so I
Okay.
think like that's why it's quite difficult. I think that's why like the era of like Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Murray was like so popular, because basically they just dominated for 15 years. And
Yeah.
so every time you tuned into tennis, you pretty much were guaranteed one of them be in the final. There was at least one of them in the final for 15 years. So,
That's a good point, actually, because I feel like anytime that I would just casually turn on tennis, like those names were just always there. And again, not that I was following tennis at all, but I feel like maybe it was easier to have an idea of what was going on because that's all that was going on. But I
yeah.
do kind of love, like you said, especially on the women's side, that like there's so many women with this incredible talent that it's like there's room for all of them to have really amazing days and just fly through these tournaments and win and be these unexpected winners. But then also they're gonna have those days that then they just didn't do as well, whatever it may be. So that's really exciting, and I'm really locked in now for the US Open after hearing, well, really, honestly, just after hearing your excitement and your passion about tennis. So I'm super excited. You mentioned something too earlier when I asked you about how you started to do Rosie's wrap ups, and you mentioned too that like you've always loved sports journalism, but you felt like you just didn't have the confidence to just get in there. And that's what, when I saw you post this on, it was your Instagram, I was immediately so excited because it really is such a hard thing. Like, if you love sports and like you're not necessarily used to talking about it online, or like you might have a lot of people in your life who know that you love sports, but getting out there and like posting your face online on TikTok, Instagram, it's scary. It's a hard thing to do. So when I saw you post this, I was immediately like, yes, girl, this is so exciting. I'm so happy for you. And then immediately I was like, you have to come on my podcast, because this whole episode is essentially what I always envision this podcast to be, to just have women come on here and just talk openly about the sports that they love, and honestly just kind of ramble and just go off on it without having people kind of just come on and be like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, or just interject and try to mansplain the sport. But I'm just so happy after this episode of just, I mean, you already have that space with Rosie's wrap-ups, and I hope everybody goes and follows you and watches all your videos, because I just thought they were brilliant. They were very funny. They were so educational. But just coming on here and just two girls chatting about tennis, and you absolutely love it, and just, like I said, that passion absolutely shines through. So please keep it up. You're so good at it. But my question for you, what's next then for Rosie's wrap-ups?
Wow, what's next? I think actually what I'm going to transition into next. So I'll try and do the US Open, but the time frame will be quite difficult. But I think I will do Rosie's wrap ups for the US Open.
Okay.
I'll have to catch up in the morning, and then they
Okay.
might be a bit later, but they should be ready for the British audience to watch through the night again.
That's true. That's a good point.
And, I think that might be quite good, because there are lots of Brits that can't watch the US Open and they're interested in tennis. And then I'm going to do the Women's Rugby World Cup, because that is in the UK in a month. In a
Okay,
month's time,
fine.
that kicks off in the UK. So, and I love rugby. I play rugby for a local team. So
Okay.
I'm gonna do a similar thing, but for the Women's Rugby World Cup, I think. So Rosie's wrap
Love
up on
it.
each round, each game of the World Cup.
Okay, I'm so excited. Those are both going to be amazing. That's going to be so fun. So, do you have any tickets to any of the Rugby World Cup games?
Yep, I've got tickets to. I'm hopefully it'll be England's quarterfinal and the semi-final, because that's in Bristol, which is like near, like not that far from me.
Okay.
So lots of the group games are like up north, and then unfortunately I'm away for the final, but Yeah, so I'm hoping that England will make it through to the quarter and their semi, and then I'll be there in Bristol.
Well, I know you're hoping for England to make it to the finals, but maybe it'll be England, Canada.
Depends on how like the pool system works. So like
Mhm.
you have to qualify like top two. There's always four in a group. Top two qualify to play each other in like the quarterfinals, then the semi-finals, and then obviously last two teams in the final. So yeah, so Canada are in,
Amazing.
and we're in. It's our home World Cup, and we narrowly missed out last time. Like we literally lost it within the last like 30 seconds of the game. So this year is our year.
Well, honestly, there's something special about winning on your home soil that I always root for that personally. You really can't you can't root against that. I just
No.
think that's always special.
We had it a few years ago when our Lionesses won at Wembley in the Euros, which is actually their Euro semi-final tonight.
I was gonna say, what's going on with the Euros right now,
Oh my
too?
god. The Euros last week, I actually wish I was going to do wrap-ups for the Euros, but the Euros
Yeah,
started during Wimbledon and it was all a bit too much.
it's a lot
So,
going on.
yeah. The Euros last week, England against Sweden, was the most tense match you've ever seen in your life.
Really?
So we're the defending champions of the Euros. We won at Wembley.
Yes, yes. Which I absolutely love too, that whole like when people say like, "Oh, England lost the Euros," and it's like, "No, they didn't."
No,
What are
they
you talking
didn't.
about? No, they didn't.
This is, I think, quite a big thing in our country, trying to convert kind of men and other people into like proving that women's football is just as equal as men's.
Yeah.
It's like it's
And
obviously got
entertaining.
it's just as got, and that's it, entertaining, because yes, it's not on the same level, like doesn't have the same amount of sponsorships, but like it's getting there and it's a growing journey. And like since the when the women won those Euros 3 years ago, it has actually catapulted all of women's sport in the UK. Like there is more
Yes.
interest. There's more
Honestly, all
interest
around the world, I
in
swear.
general around the world. Like think like our men were in exactly the same position the year before at Wembley, playing the same team that in the final of the Euros, literally the year before the girls then won it the year after. And I think it just like the Wembley was full, like there was this buzz everywhere, all around the country, and I think it just proved it is equal and it means
Yeah.
just as much. And like it was just like the first major football trophy that we've had as a national team in like 84 years or something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, I mean, also too, it really was interesting living in London in particular, but like just that like football older man stereotype, that pub culture, all that kind of stuff. It was really interesting getting a taste of it. But like in my opinion, it's like why would you not like want to root for your country winning something? Like why would you not be happy about that? Like why the hell do you care what gender has won this sport? Like you now have a trophy for your country.
And we are going to have another one on Sunday. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Nicole, it's my birthday on Sunday and it's the Euros final. And I tell you what, they are going to win it on my birthday. They better.
Oh, I love that. Well, happy early birthday.
They got to make it through tonight. I don't know if football's big in Canada, but if you want to get into football, these Lionesses, I would advise.
Okay, well, you know what? We have the MLS, the Major League Soccer League. And that has the Whitecaps, the LA Galaxy, like when David Beckham came and
Yeah.
played over, like those. I think Messi's on a team too. They must got money to get these
Yeah,
guys
they do.
going over there. I don't know. It's so much fun to watch, but they have a league just under that, and now Vancouver has a women's team on that league. So it's so exciting. I don't know, watching the women's sports teams and like the leagues, there's something special about it, like just the energy and the entertainment value, like you said. It's so fun to watch, and I'm just so grateful that now we have a women's football team to watch locally. It's amazing.
I think it's because like the women's players, they're not like they're more accessible than the men's players. They like stay with the crowd. They sign autographs. They do TikToks with the crowd. Do you know what I mean? Like I think because it's all up and coming, and it gets people more engaged with them because they're actually
Totally.
accessible to like the public. They will stay around and they will sign autographs or take a selfie or that kind of stuff at the end.
That's such an amazing point, and I feel like I've discuss this, and this is such a tangent. This is so funny. And we will get back to my last question for you, but before we do that, I just want to touch on this because it's such an amazing point, and I completely agree with you, and I've never thought about it this way. But I often mention, especially when it comes to American football, but a lot of sports, it can be very numbers heavy, and a lot of times too, numbers just aren't my forte. I just don't love them, but I really love watching for that entertainment value. And like you said, for like learning about the players and learning about their backstories, and I feel like that really adds to the sports for me. And you do often get that a lot more with women's sports. And I mean, I would love to see all of these leagues grow and be at the point where these men's leagues are. But I guess it is kind of nice in a way that I'm not, how do I word this? I'm not going to say it's nice in a way that they're not. Like, they definitely deserve to be paid on these equal levels. But at the same time, like, it's like, when you, this is maybe not the best comparison, but when you have a band that, like, isn't playing at the O2, they're playing at, like, a smaller thing, but one day they're going to be at Wembley playing with this sold out stadium. But, like, for now, they're just yours. And, like, they're a lot more accessible, like you said, and easier to connect with. And just that engagement with the fans is there a lot more of the time in these women's leagues. So that's a really good point. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like, it's just like so much easier. Like, I think, yeah, there obviously will be a point that doesn't happen, but as they're like on the up, like it's just great. Like the fact that you can go to a women's rugby match and just meet. We went to Bristol when Alona Moore was there, and we met her. She stayed around, took
Yeah,
selfies.
that's so
It was
cool.
it was brilliant. Like it's just so cool. And I think like also this is like bringing back to tennis. Like this is why people love tennis, because loads of the smaller tournaments as well that you go to, even at Wimbledon, you like there are so many like outside courts that they have to bring the players through the ground. So like it's just like such an accessible thing, and you can go to the practice courts. There's loads of people who now have like selfies, etc. And I think that's why it's great as well, because there is a lot of like kind of access, like kind of good and bad, because there's been some problems, but there is a lot of access to like players. Like I went and watched the fourth round at Wimbledon this Sunday, and then they had literally after 10 minutes after it finished, Laura Siegmund, who made the semi-finals, in the end, she just walked past me because they had to bring her through the ground.
So cool. And yeah, I just think, honestly, the sports are just the coolest. They're so
Yeah.
fun. Amazing. All right, Rosie. Okay, last question for you. This has been so fun talking about way more than I expected to talk about, but I absolutely love it when the episodes go that way. I just feel like that's when the authenticity just shines. Like, we just say what we're thinking. I love it. But my last question for you is obviously the name of the show called Name One Player. And that came to be because I feel like a lot of the time when you're a woman who just loves different sports and, maybe more of those more male dominated sports as well, you do often get hit with that whole, well, name one player. Well, prove that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think for me, like people are surprised about how much like I do know. There are lots of sports that I literally know nothing about, so like I don't tend to join in on those conversations. But like, well, ones that I obviously do know lots about. Like I think people are like, oh, I like tennis. They're like, oh, I like tennis. Maybe it's like I watch Wimbledon, yeah, like once a year. But like, think like they don't realise that I know so much more. Like that's the thing, and then they're surprised when I'm like talking about all of this, talking about the stats, what's happened, and then I can see it on their face that they're the ones that are lost. I'm like, oh well, I thought you liked tennis. Do you know what I mean? And then I quite like that, because like almost surprise someone, and you're
Yeah,
like,
and you know what? That's such a good point. It's true. It's like why is there that surprise? Like why is it that, I think society in general kind of expects women to just not know as much about sports. And I mean, I think what you're doing with Rosie's wrap ups, and just again, I've said it before, but like it is so clear and genuine how much you love the sports that you love. Like in just this hour long conversation that we've had, like it is so clear that not even one, you know what you're talking about, but like you love it. Like you know what you're talking about, not just on a like you can roll out a bunch of statistics type of way. Like you genuinely love it at your core, and it comes across like as so obvious that that's the case. So it's fun in a way that you do get those reactions, but also I guess a little bit sad in a way that it's like, why is it surprising that a woman knows and loves all of the sports that maybe they're not expected to?
Yeah, I think you're so right. Yeah, I obviously love it. And I've got plenty of female friends who literally don't care, but I've also got loads who also love sports. I think I'm like just lucky like that. Loved them from such a young age, and I'm still friends with so many of my school friends. I haven't necessarily had that thing. It's like name one player because they already know. It's always new people that I meet, and like that's where the surprise comes from. But I think like we should
Yeah.
just like be yourself, be passionate about it, and if you are being put down, be like, well, like just keep going because you know what you're talking about. If you know what you're talking about, I think like quite often as well when I meet new people and talk about sports, I'm like less confident because I'm like, oh, especially maybe in a group of like men, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know as much as them, but like just keep talking about it. If you get a stat wrong and they correct you, just be like, oh, I'm like sorry, yeah, I forgot. Like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, I think like you just have to keep
Yeah,
going. You know more than you think, and when you talk about it, I
definitely.
think it all comes out. It like you actually more comes out of your brain.
That is such a good point because I remember too when, and it's American football for me is like my one true love. I absolutely love it. But I remember I was actually talking to my therapist about this not too long ago because I remember talking to her. I was invited on a podcast and I was like, oh my God, no, I can't go on a podcast and like talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Like, I don't know enough. Like, what if I can't, keep up with the conversation or whatever it is? Like, I was genuinely so afraid. But I knew more about that football team than like anybody that I knew, and like I just lived and breathed it. Like I knew, and like not that it really is about how much you know or whatever, but like exactly what you said. You know more than you think you know. Like it's your brain is telling you, no, 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 you don't know, don't talk about it. Like there's always other people who know more than you, which like sure, maybe that's true, but if you love something, if you love any sport and you want to talk about it, just talk about it. You don't need to know every single little thing, but that's such a good point. You know more than you think you know.
Yeah, I think it's just so true. Like, yeah, there is probably someone, and obviously someone that knows more than you. But like, are you talking to that person? Probably not. Like, I always think like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, just prove that you do know it, and then people will be impressed, and then maybe they'll ask you questions, and then you get into that flow, and then you just have to have confidence in yourself. I think.
Totally. I love it. And you know what too, just as you're saying, like, yeah, there might be that person who knows more than you. There most likely is a person who knows more than you. But if you're talking to that person and then they really emphasize the fact that they know more than you in a way that's like putting you down, then they're a dick. Like
Yeah.
that's all that it is.
If they know more than you, then you're going to learn from them. And but if they're a dick, then like
Exactly.
don't bother talking to them because they're not worth your time, to be honest. Like, yeah, they know more than you. You just
Exactly.
have to move on and just be like, yeah, okay, it's fine. But like, if they knew more than you and were actually interested in chatting about the like tennis or whatever they knew more about, then they would still be interested in talking to you because you could also learn from them.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I feel like that came up a little bit in the last episode that I did. We were just talking about somebody who's a journalism student, her advice for women who want to talk about sports, and it was really just do it. If you love it, if you want to talk about it, just do it. And I think that really ties in so nicely what you're saying about it. Like just have that confidence because if you love it, it's going to shine through and that's what people are going to connect with, pick up on. So I absolutely love that point. Thank you for sharing that.
That's all right. Yeah, I think like just don't be afraid to get it wrong as well. Like you even watch the people on the telly. They get things wrong sometimes.
Yes.
You've just got to go for it.
That is such good advice, and I hope anybody who's listening, any female, any male too, like who just wants to talk about sports because they love it, but like it's scary to do. I will not deny it. It's scary to get out there and do it, but it's like ripping off that band-aid. And I always feel like too the people who are judging you just are stupid. They
Yeah,
obviously either they're jealous and they want to be out talking about whatever they love, but they're afraid to do it because it is scary, or they're just stupid. They're just mean.
I honestly, that was the biggest barrier before I did the first Rosie's wrap up. I was just like really scared. I thought like all of my friends and stuff were going to be like laughing, da la la la. And then I just got so many nice messages from people being like, oh, this is great. We love watching it. And then like I think as soon as you get like a couple of nice messages, and I've had a few hate comments from random strangers as well, but just as soon as you get nice messages from people that you actually like and friends and family, like then it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, amazing, Rosie. I love all of that. All right, well, I think that's really all that I have for you. This has been such an amazing episode. I'm so happy that we were able to touch on everything that we did. Definitely, I mean, I was going to say definitely went off of my episode breakdown, but I only had 2 things written down. We really didn't go off topic at all because there were no specific things that we had to go on. But thank you so much, Rosie. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope that you have a blast watching the semifinals. And happy early birthday to you.
Fingers crossed for those semi-finals. Thanks so much for having me on, Nicole. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes, Rosie, thank you. Thank you so much to Rosie for coming on. What a fantastic episode, like I just mentioned. Obviously, it's nice to have a general idea of what we're going to talk about. That's very important. But I really do love when we have the episodes where we just go off on these tangents. Something will pop into our minds and we'll talk about that. Like, I love it. I think that's one of the really fun things about this podcast, and just really goes back to the root of what I always wanted it to be. Just a place where women are talking about the sports that they love and all of the random little topics that come up when we're talking about the sports that we love. So again, thank you, Rosie, for coming on. As I mentioned in the introduction, Rosie and I filmed that episode obviously a few weeks ago, and the Euro Cup has been won by England on Rosie's birthday. So happy belated birthday to you, Rosie. Congratulations to England for winning the Euros the 2nd time in a row. That is so exciting. And speaking of our next episode, we're going to be getting into that win and just how exciting it was for England. But you're gonna have to wait until later this week to hear that episode. I think that's really it from me. Again, I just want to say a thank you for your patience with me while I got this episode out. And thank you to every single person who's listening today. It means the world to me. And again, sometimes I forget. I don't know how to word this without saying that I'm taking it for granted. Like, I truly never, ever, ever take anybody who listens for granted. I appreciate every single one of you so much, but sometimes it doesn't feel real, is more what it is. It doesn't feel real that I have a podcast that people care about, honestly. And it's just really cool, and I need to get that little imposter syndrome out of my head. So, thank you. It just means so much to me, and I'm excited to continue to do this. I'm not gonna promise that, road bumps, is that what they're called? Road bumps? Bumps in the road won't come up. If they do, I'll be transparent with you guys like I always am. But for now, I'm so happy that I am back in the swing of things. All right, I'm going to go. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.